Hello, Tony Walker. Got another review for you. This is an RL Allan journal, full-size journal in a brown goatskin. This is something I've been wanting and looking at for about a year, I guess. Been wanting to have one of these and just haven't been able to do so. And so there's one or two options you can do when you want something. You can either buy it. If you have the money to buy it, you can buy it, which didn't fit in that option. Or number two, you can take something, sell it, use that money to buy something. And so that's what I did. So I'll just throw this little disclaimer out there. It comes up sometimes when people send me a message. I don't just accumulate these things for the sake of it, and then you get a message. Well, we'll forget all that. I'm not accumulating these things just to accumulate it. A lot of the things you see on these Bible reviews have been sold or given away or passed on to where they came from, or passed on to other hands. So just remember, as you watch these videos, these aren't all things that I possess at one time. These are things that I've gotten down through the years, maybe did a video on it, and then sold it and used that money to go buy the next thing that you watch the video on. So this little journal, this is something I've been wanting. It is, I don't know that I'd call it an investment, but it is something that I couldn't just go out and buy on a whim. So I sold a couple of my hobby items a couple of weeks ago, and had the means to get one of these. And I was kind of skittish, I was thinking, do I really want to get this? But as soon as it come in the mailbox and I opened it up, I was glad I did. So what you got here is the full-size RL Allan journal. It comes with a yellow ribbon. It is a fairly bright yellow. One thing I regret is sending back that brown long primer. You can watch the video about that. I was graciously, someone gave me one of these black long primers, and even he himself, he said, Tony, I know how much you want one of those brown ones, but I've got a black one. Got a little bit of writing in it, but it's still, other than that, it's brand new. And I said, yeah, if you're willing to give that as a gift, and I can't pay you back, and you're freely giving it, I'd be glad to take it if that's what you feel like you'd like to do. And so he graciously sent me one of these as a gift. So I do have a black long primer, but I guess that first one that I had was the brown one, and regrettably I sent back for a refund at the time, because that's what I needed to do. But so anyway, got the black long primer, and then I really love this brown color, and hopefully in the future I'll get some more brown things from Allan. Just so you can see the comparison with the size. Again, this is the full size, not the pocket size. Get an idea of the size on the text block. Almost the same size as a long primer text block. Don't let the full yap fool you. Get an idea of the thickness. There you go. Get an idea of the thickness of the ribbon. Maybe about, I didn't measure it, but this ribbon is maybe about 60% the width of one of these thicker ribbons. Oh, and one thing I want to show you with the leather. One thing on the Evangelical Bible website, they had the brown listed as an antique brown buffalo grain, which was more of a glossy bit. I don't know if you want to call it bigger pebbles, or I don't know the exact terminology to describe leather like that, but I think I'm safe on saying that this is a tighter grain, a more pebbly grain than, okay, see this top corner of my long primer on the back? See how that grain is more spread out, thicker, looks more, reminds you of an elephant. I don't know exact words I'm looking for. But then look over here, see in that area how it, I'm not going to call that sweat glands, but you see all these itty bitty little holes and pores in the leather where it just looks more like a smoother, tighter pattern, as opposed to this little corner of the goat right here. I don't know, maybe that's the goat that Maybe that's the part of the goat that had some skin disease. I don't know. But this is all natural leather. They didn't fix it up or pretty up. They say it comes off the goat just like that. And so on the pictures of the brown journal, I was expecting I wasn't really hoping for it, but I was expecting more of a shiny, more widespread grain. And thankfully, they said it would be a good match, and they were telling the truth. Ian and RL Allan, as well as the people who work at Evangelical Bible, I emailed both of them trying to get some clarification, and they both said the same thing. So I went ahead and ordered it, and it come just like this. So I was glad that this, evidently they're using a new batch of leather. I don't know how their exact process works, but this is, and it says on here, goat skin. Well, it says right here, brown goat skin, and don't take my word for it, but if this is Highland goat skin, I would bet all the money in my wallet, which is about $2 or $3, that this is Highland goat skin as well. It is soft. It's just as soft as this, not quite as flexible because this has leather behind it and this has more of a card or board behind it. But I was real excited when I took it out of the wrapper, and it was exactly like what you would see on an RL Allan Bible. Again, maybe you've experienced that before, but this is my first time holding one or handling one. And as far as I know, this is going to be the first video on YouTube of one. So I was real happy to see that leather. You open it up, and you can see the brown end papers, and it's not some cheap construction paper. It's got a waxy textured, real nice feel to it. So I'm sure it's going to hold up for a while. Kind of get a glance. You see the impression on the top right there. Yeah, I think the angle's I think, at least from my point of view, the camera's picking that up quite well. You can see the ridge. And what that is, that's where the leather is overlapping. You know, you got the front cover right here, and then that leather is overlapping, and it's glued down to the material on the inside. I guess some kind of real thick paper. And then it's glued down, and then this end paper is glued down on top of that. And what you have sometimes is, yeah, here's a good example. I'm not going to show you what this is because I don't want to give a bad impression of it. But you see how narrow that is right there? The paper, they should have put the paper up as far as possible. That way you've got as much contact between the paper and this thing. And I could just be reading more into it, but I think probably that little book I just showed you would fall apart sooner than this would fall apart, because this is just more, I guess, more attention to detail. So, good job on that. You can see it does have the gold edges, and then when you angle it, you can see the deep red color. This isn't a Cambridge pink, but this is an Allan deep red, and you may have heard people talk about that before. Things that come from Cambridge, for whatever reason, I don't know if they're skipping out on the dye, or it's just the shade of dye they use, but it just doesn't have that punch to it. But you get something from RL Allan, and you look at how deep the red is, it just really stands out. So when you open it up, first when you open it, you've got the brown end papers. You've got an ivory colored, which I guess is the back of this end paper, an ivory page, and then you've got one white page, real thick, 2, 3, 4. So you've got 4 blank white pages, 1 blank ivory page, and then you start your ruled paper pages. And let's count together. I haven't done this yet. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Forgive my sniffles. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. It's more than I was expecting. Now they are tied together. So if I can give you something for a reference. Here's an index card from EV Bible. Give them some free advertising. They shipped this via media mail. I got it in 2 days. So, I don't know to praise EV Bible for that or the United States Postal Service, but got the free shipping and still got it really quick. So, that's a regular size business card. That'll give you an idea of how wide or narrow the lines are. So that's a good many number of lines. So you got 256 pages. All the pages on the inside are the same. So you multiply those lines times 256, and that's a lot of lines. And then you get to the back. You've got a blank white page, 2 blank white pages, a 4th blank white page, a blank ivory page, your end paper, the same attention to detail in the construction, and then a blank back. It does come with a 1 yellow ribbon. It does have the solid white headband and tail band, just like you would find on the other Allan products. And so, long story short, this is a journal that would be worth passing down to the next generation. Which brings me to the reason I bought this. If you just wanted to see a picture of the journal and a few descriptive remarks, you're welcome to end the video now, but I'll just spend a moment describing the little plan that I have for this. Maybe justify buying it a little more. Sometimes we set out to read through the Bible, and I'm thankful for the opportunity I've been given recently, but up into this point, my day did not consist of office time, study time, visit time. Up to a month ago, my day consisted of wake up, go work 12 hours in a plant, come home, try to spend time with children, eat dinner. Sometimes I'd be too tired to eat dinner, fall asleep in the recliner, go get in bed, get up the next day and start over. And it's real easy for someone in full-time ministry to preach, you need to read 10 chapters of the Bible a day. If you don't, you need to get right with God. God's word's important, ain't it? Why aren't you reading it? It's real easy sometimes for people to come across like that, even if they don't mean so. And so one thing, it may not have been the most enjoyable thing at the time, but I've been doing secular work for the last 12 years. From the age of 18 to 30, I've worked a full-time job in a plant in places that wasn't that warm in the winter and wasn't that cool in the summer. And so for 12 years, I got to really experience what a working person goes through. And I think now that I am able to full-time ministry, I hate to use that because then it kind of creates a distinction that I don't even care to make between full-time Christians and lay preachers and that type of thing. I hated hearing that before, and I'm certainly not going to promote that now. But it'll make things more understanding. If I go out and make a visit and somebody's telling me I'm trying, I want to do better, but when you're working 12-hour swing shifts, there's only so much you can do. Instead of looking at that person and saying, well, I'll pray you'll do better, I can look at that person in the eyes and say, brother, I know exactly how you feel. I've been there the last 12 years. And so on one hand, the whole reason I said all that to say this, I'm not going to tell people they need to read 10 chapters of the Bible a day to be right with God. I'm not even going to tell them they need to read 3 chapters a day so they can read through the Bible in a year to be right with God. It's nothing to brag about, because I know people, even personally, who read the Bible much more than I do, But I have read the Bible a few times. Sometimes it took longer than a year. Once I think it took less than a year. I do read fairly slow. If that's an excuse or not, I don't know. Slower than the average person. But and then a few times, you start to read through the Bible and you get a plan together, and then you fall behind a day or two, and then you just get discouraged trying to catch back up, and then you just eventually quit and go back to reading a passage here or there a day. So what I've tried to do is just think for the long term and say, Tony, I'm 30 years old right now. 40 years old will be 10 years from now. What would I like to do with my own? How would I like to discipline the first few minutes of my day for the next 10 years? And so what I've decided, rather than try to read through this once a year and probably not remember most of what I read, and if I fall behind, I get discouraged, and if I miss 3 chapters today, try to make up and read 6 chapters the next day, and if I get behind another day, then I'm trying to read 9 chapters in one day. And rather than some people can do that and set themselves to it and have no trouble. I'm not the most disciplined person in the world. I'm definitely not the best reader in the world. And I just know I'd be setting myself up for failure. So what I've decided to do, instead of reading 3 chapters a day, where you at, Genesis? Just in case you've never seen the inside of a long primer, you can watch my other videos or check this out. There's 1 chapter, Genesis 1:1 to 131. Oh, there it is right there. What I've decided to do is, instead of focusing on a lot, just try to focus on 1 chapter a day. If I can read 1 chapter in the morning, pray about it, think about it during the course of the day, try to maybe share a thought or two with my family in the evening on that 1 chapter, then all I've got to hold myself to that day is that 1 chapter. And it's not exact, but in about 3 years, I will have read through the Bible, not quickly, but slowly, in a detailed manner, trying to soak it in and absorb it more. And when you do the math, well, I may be a little off. I was thinking there was 35 lines a page, but I forget now how many I counted, close to 40, 45, I believe it was. But, so I may have a little bit more to work with than I thought, but when I figured it up before, when you take these 256 pages, 128 sheets, I guess it is, and you have these number of lines on each page, what I plan on doing is day 1, probably this coming Monday, start on Genesis chapter 1, put the date, put a key verse or 2 that I'd like to remember, and then put about 5 or 6 lines just of brief commentary on, Tony, today I read Genesis chapter 1, what kind of thoughts do I have about it? Skip a line. Tuesday, Genesis chapter 2, key verses, the date, and about 5 or 6 lines of my thoughts about it. And if I tried to do that over the course of a year, I know that I could not keep up and I wouldn't hold myself to it. But if I break it down where I'm only doing 1 chapter, if I'm reading a chapter a day, and I'm writing about 5 or 6 lines about each chapter in the Bible a day, 3 years from now, I will have read through the Bible in a more detailed manner than trying to read it through in a year. And 3 years from now, I will have written 256 pages of my own thoughts about the Bible. So that would be a 3-year plan. Do that over the course of a decade, then that means by the time I'm 40 years old, I will have read through the Bible 3 times in the next 10 years slowly, and I'm not figuring in now my studies for my lessons and teen messages and things like that, just my own personal learning. Over the course of the next 10 years, I will have slowly read through 3 Bibles, and I plan on using a different one each time. I will have filled up 3 256-page books, so I will have written 768 pages, 768 handwritten pages of my own thoughts about the Bible, and that would leave me with 3 notebooks that I could pass down to my 3 children. And then I know very little about them. I saw it was a good seller on Amazon, and I got this. You got a thick theology book, 1,289 pages, and that's including a bunch of stuff in the back. So just figuring roughly, you got about 1,000-page theology textbook. And so my little plan is if I read 3 pages a day over the course of a year, I will have read roughly 1,000-page theology book, and I will have read a third of the Bible. So every 3 years, I will have read the Bible through, filled up a book, a journal, 256-page journal, and read 3,000 pages approximately of a systematic theology book, or 3 1,000-page books. And then, so over the next 10 years, hopefully, if everything works out like I'm planning, read through the Bible 3 times, filled up 3 of these journals, and we'll have read 10 1,000-page textbooks about theology. And hopefully that'll get me till I'm 40 years old. So that's my plan. If you've got any thoughts about that, maybe you've done something similar, maybe you see some pitfalls I may fall into, feel free to let me know. But before I start my studies for my sermons and my lessons and things like that, just my own personal time, that's something that I'd like to do over the next decade. And so that's where this little RL Allan journal comes into play. Just for comparison's sake, excuse me. Here is a large moleskin, and there is an Allan journal. You can see pretty much the exact same size. So this is something you could probably find at your local bookstore, in case I realize there's only a couple places in the entire world where you could pick up one of these and handle them at, if you were to go there, I guess. But you can find these probably in just about every town that has a normal size bookstore. So you find one of these, and that'll give you an idea of what to expect as far as the size wise, as far as making a comparison for you. So that is the RL Allan journal in brown goatskin, yellow ribbon, and there's you can get a picture of the leather and the grain compared to a black blown primer. Any questions, comments, be sure to leave them. Thanks for those of you who've been watching the videos. Watch the other videos, check those out. If you have any questions, post comments about them. Several of the YouTube videos is things that I no longer own, things that I have sold to fund me buying something else. So if I don't have it anymore, I may not be able to answer a question about it. But if I do, I'll do my best. Check out the website, preachertony.com. Twitter, you can find me there. Facebook, you can find me there. And I've started back the Bible podcast, which is a little weekly Bible study that I do. So be sure to check out that too. You can find that at iTunes. The quickest way to get to it is just type in preachertony.com/iTunes. I believe that's all for now. Thanks for watching.